Hello everyone, it's 10 Types, and today I'm going to be talking about Control. Earlier today, or maybe yesterday, I don't have my upload schedule set up yet, but I talked about the best decks in the game, the ones that were winning or doing well in tournaments, and ones that you could check out as well. And I did not talk about Control. I was going to talk about Control in that video, but I realized it really deserved its own video. So yeah, I think Control is really good post rotation. These are all Control lists. We're not talking about Mill, as that is not as good. It's pretty good, but not quite as good. Not the best stack. Control is probably the best stack. And we have four different, or I guess five, four lists here. Three Snorlax lists, and then one that's not Snorlax. That's not Snorlax. What are you talking about? And this deck is Snorlax, but a little different. So I have not actually looked at any of these lists, but I'm going to be talking about them some today and looking into them and analyzing them. Starting with the Pokemon, this list runs. Okay, so pretty much here we see these two lists, the same Pokemon lines. They're slightly different, but pretty similar. We have Rotom V, which draws their cards, ends your turn. It's a really good draw engine. I do get why running two is nice, and I could also see why you could run one. Then Snorlax, and the idea of Snorlax is ability blocks as if it's in the active, your opponent's active can't retreat, which is just a massive pain to have to deal with, and is like a really, really massive pain to have to deal with. Outside of that, your Pidgeot V in two of the three lists. The third one does some other things to kind of like deal with it, not running it. We'll talk about like the pros and cons of that, but it stops you from decking out. It is a Pokemon V, so you can use 4 Seal Stone on, which is nice. All the list run one copy because it's a nice little addition that when you're running Arven is very good. I mean, it's arguably not just like an addition, but a very important piece of the deck. Outside of that, then we do see Mimikyu, which walls. None of the lists here can attack with it. Yeah, not even this one. I personally think it's better if you can, but I know there is value even when you can't. And then Chi-Yu-EX, its attack, Jealousy, Singe, says for 1 fire energy on a basic, you can just mill 2 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. You do have 190 HP, which is not a lot on a 2-prize basic, or 2-prizer at all. So Rotom also has the same amount of HP, but you're not attacking with it. But attacking with Chi-Yu is a little scary, so we do have some HP buffs, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And then this Mantine, which is interesting. Keep in mind these are all tournament lists. If you're not playing a tournament, you may want to change things a little bit. But Mantine, its attack is the same as Echoing Horn, which rotated, or it's a little better, but put a basic Pokemon from either player's discard onto that player's bench. You can use it for recovery, but you probably won't. The main thing is to put one of your opponent's Pokemon into play, then trap it. I do think it's good. I would play this. If I was playing in a tournament, I would definitely run this. But obviously, some people have chosen not to and still seen success. All these lists are lists that performed well. So, yeah. And comment down below if you want a link to the list as well. I can provide that. But aside from that, we have some other things to talk about. I did mention I will talk about the bulkiness. You have Defiance Vest, Bravery Charm, and Hero's Cape. And yeah, we see them in all the lists. Okay, no, we don't see Defiance Vest in this list. We do see Luxurious Cape. I think Defiance Vest is very good. I think you should always play at least one Defiance Vest, arguably 2. It's very good. I would definitely play that. There are reasons not to, though. Notably, it was good against Mew from Celebrations, which has rotated, but yeah, anyway, Defiance Vest, you take 40 less if you're down in prizes, which you will be essentially the whole game. Bravery Charm giving you 50 more HP on your basics, which is all your Pokemon, and Hero's Cape giving you 100 extra HP on all your Pokemon. Flat out is an A-Spec, which is the A-Spec in all of these lists on account of it being simple and just good enough. And then Luxurious Cape is 100 more HP to single prizes and turns them into a 2-prizer, which can be useful. And it's not your A-Spec. Obviously, it's directly worse than Hero's Cape, but it can be useful in certain scenarios. And then you can search out them with Arven. Arven searches for a tool and an item. Items are not tools, and tools are not items. That is something that I think some people who have not been playing recently might not know. So yeah, that is a ruling change. So even though this card says item on it, it's not an item, or it's not treated as an item at the very least. So yeah, that's important. That's the main engine of these decks, I guess. It's a supporter, but it's essentially an engine. And pairing that with Rotom V, that will get you set up for the most part. You do have Iono as well, which disrupts your opponent and will draw you cards. It's just quite simply a really good card. There isn't really another way to say that. It's really good and essentially directly better than Roxanne, as you'll always be drawing the full 6 unless you're under some insane scenarios. This deck literally can't take prizes ever. I mean, yeah. And then, yeah, pretty much you're going to be Ionoing and Arvening to set yourself up. And Arvening can get tools, including Force Seal Stone, which if it's attached to a V, lets you use a V-Star power to search deck for any card. And the other tool in these lists, we do see Rescue Board, which will reduce your retreat cost by 1, or will make it free if you have 30 HP or less remaining, which is a thing, but not very commonly going to happen. But reducing it by 1 can get your, like, Rotom V out. We do see 1 switch card here, 2 switch cards here, and 2 here. And then 3 Cups of Penny, which will scoop a Pokemon from in play a basic, but again, that's all your Pokemon, a basic, and all cards attached to it back into your hand. This is useful. It will also preserve your Hero's Cape, but Hero's Cape can get lost vacuumed, and probably will get lost vacuumed. I'm not going to lie. I think that will happen. In terms of other disruption, we do see Temple of Sinnoh as the stadium of choice, as it just disrupts your opponent. In terms of, that element of disruption, you of course have lots of gusting with 4 Counter Catcher and 2 Boss. That's why you don't need Prime Catcher, because you have Counter Catcher. So, yeah, and then you have Palpad to recover. And then we have some other options. I mean, I don't really need to get too in detail. I've gotten in detail enough, but Misfortune Sister mills items from their deck. Your opponent reveals their hand, so you do get hand knowledge, which is really useful. You discard up to 2 items you find there, which is pretty nice. And then we also do have, this list runs Giacomo to remove energy in play. We do see Crushing Hammer here, which also removes energy in play on a coin flip. Can be recovered, but kind of hard. And then, yeah, well, win Giacomo as well. And yeah, that's about it for disruption or simple disruption. But of course, the main idea, you want to trap a Pokemon in play. And then you have Erica's Invitation. You look at their hand and take a basic Pokemon you find there and slap it onto the bench, and then bring it into the active to trap with Snorlax and make your opponent sad. And then recovery, I did mention I would talk about this. We have Silene, Meowscarada, Silene on a double coin flip. For each heads you search, you get any card from your discard, put it straight on top of your deck. And then Team Meowscarada shuffle, and any combination of 3 supporters and Pokemon from your discard into your deck. Or up to. So you can get back Pokemon. Some people forget about that, but that is pretty useful. Not super often, but you will use it from time to time. As I said, this list does not run Pidgeot V. Pidgeot V will just stop you from decking out, or will stop you from reaching. It'll be the last card in your deck if you can't loop cards in other ways. But this list does not run it, so it does run 2 caps of Team Yellow's Cheer, 2 caps of Silene, and 3 caps of Palpad, as opposed to like a 2-2 or a 2-1-2 or 1-1-2 split or something like that. Because obviously these will stop you from decking out, but if they're prized, they won't. And if you get unlucky enough with your Silene coin flips, that you will also deck out. I don't know how unlucky you need to be. I think it's very unlucky. It depends on the scenario. But with this, you will not deck out, assuming these aren't prized. But you could always get an unlucky prize like double Silene or something. There are ways to get cards out of the prizes, but not in these decks. I honestly wouldn't hate seeing that, but they're not playing them. And yeah, that's about it. Lost Vacuum can be used to remove certain tools and stuff from play. I don't know. I honestly don't know the use of Lost Vacuum, other than just generic disruption, which is obviously always going to be good in a control deck to just like disrupt your opponent. And yeah, that's about it. Student Heavy Ball obviously gets stuff from the prize and Nest Ball. You got Search and all that good stuff. But yeah, so control's doing its thing. This is why it's done pre-rotation. No Echoing Horn, the Mantine, a big difference. And then Aery's a nice little buff. It's not that good. Some people think it's really good. The thing is, your opponent can just like play their items. It can be good in certain scenarios, and it's most notably good against Lost Zone, but I think people are overreacting to how good it is. It's annoying. It's a bit of a pain. But honestly, it's good in control, but it's better in other decks. Like I talked about it in Arceus in the last video, and or what I think is going to be last video, and it's probably better there than in control. But now we need to talk about this deck. You still see 1 Snorlax and 2 Rotom Vs, Mimikyu, Chi-Yu EX. But then we see Mawile, which attacks and stops your opponent from retreating. It also will allow you to do more damage next turn, which is an option. Not the best option, but an option. We do see Mist Energy for some extra defensiveness, but then we see the Pidgeot EX engine, which is very good, allowing you to search for any card every single turn of the game, which is really powerful. Then we also see Bouffalant here. For 3 colorless energy, put an energy from your opponent's active to the Lost Zone. You do 50 damage as well. Probably reduced to 30 or even 10 if you do have double turbo. You don't want to be taking knockouts. That's generally not a good idea as it hurts your Iono. You only run 1, but still an ideal. Same thing with Counter Catcher. It will hurt that. And you do have Luxray V. Your opponent reveals their hand, discard a trainer you find there. Compare that with Airy, where your opponent reveals their hand, discard up to 2 items you find there. So you can really, really mess with their hand. On top of that, we do see a lot of the similar stuff as well. I'll actually pull up the full list because it doesn't fit all here for me. The Mawile, I do think Mawile is better than Snorlax. It's harder to play. I've said this a lot of times, but that's my thoughts. The one fire is a little sketchy to me as there is no prize search. There are, as I said, ways to prize search in the format, but they're a little more awkward than Peonia. Yeah, and then also we have a lot of the similar wall stuff in lower counts though, because you're fitting more stuff in. But then you do have an interesting Pokemon here in Wigglytuff, and Wigglytuff's pretty neat. Its ability says if it has a special energy attached, it gets 100 more HP, and Friend Tackle here does 90, 180 if you played a supporter though this turn. You can attack, and you can take prizes with this deck, which is really interesting. Is that like the main route you're going to be going down? Probably not, but if you can really mess with your opponent's resources, it can be good. Additionally, you can use Thornton to attack with this back-to-back. Assuming you have energies, Thornton will switch one of your basics in play with a Pokemon in your discard, and will count the number of turns in play, and it will maintain that. So that's pretty useful because it means if you have only one Pidgey and it's knocked out, you switch your other Pokemon with Pidgey. And this also removes stuff from play. It's really useful in a lot of scenarios. A really interesting card, really hard card to play, but when you have access to lots of things with Mimikyu EX and Forest Seal Stone, it's useful. Also means using Forest Seal Stone early doesn't really feel bad. Getting a Lost Vacuum doesn't feel terrible either. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. I think the Wigglytuff's a neat little addition. Jigglypuff can also search for a supporter. You can attack with Pidgeot. There are lots of different routes to go down. I do think the deck's pretty neat. I'm not sure if I love it or not. I do think it's more interesting than the regular Snorlax deck, but I'm interested in hearing your thoughts down below. I know a lot of people are not big fans of Snorlax and Control in general, but yeah, I have not played any Control post-rotation. I played a bunch of Stall. I played the Regieleki VMAX, which is like a stally attacking deck, and I've been playing that a bunch. Same thing with Brambleghast, which I guess is technically stall. It's just really bad. But I've not played any Control. I might play a few rounds of it. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing, liking, commenting down below, hitting the bell, all that good stuff. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.